Okay, New Cameron. What's next on the agenda based upon the Apollo of 13? Because based upon the Apollo of 13, the astronaut has not been confirmed. No, not really. Haven't seen that movie for so long. It's just an old movie of 13 Apollo or something in that relay. Oh, in that relay. Do you know anything how the memory actually works in relation to knowing how to react the separation of d, da, d? Because d, da, d is just an attribute of knowing how to history, the plexism of its own imma. Because its own imma is based upon the transaction of birth path. Because birth path is based upon our birth path because it's based upon our birth path is that once we bath into a neutron of knowing that our sensitive skin is sensation in relation to virtual imagery. So in relation to virtual imagery, the flexism of knowing that the old friend in relation to Indonesia, didn't he open a restaurant in Springwell somewhere with his boyfriend or partner? Are they still around? So anyway, in that way, the North Star Karisni in relation to Indonesia has any things that we need to rock the soil of bird bath to know that the flock of sheep is not Joseph? The flock? Don't know. Imagine this. Group cha, flock pa, group cha. So in that way, the flock of the sheep is just a copula of knowing that relation and distanton is Ross House to Alakatgay, the birth bath, to know how that cystaton is just a transmission of segmentation by each birds, because the dovefly is just a doso in relation to our animal, because our animal is just a dum-dum-dum of knowing that the wheeler is that over 26 years and 59 years and 3C, it's 38 years of birds to survive. Really? Then how come my anubis attack birds in relation to dottY, the cartoon, Twitter? dottY, cartoon or Twitter? I don't really remember that bird in relation to the cartoon. But Granny, have you seen one? Oh, anyway. So anyway, in that way, what kind of birds will perform the next intrafa in relation to our sepsicist anganane by the constantin, because the constantin or something is just a tin of army food. I have heaps. So in that time, why do we roller the expiry date in relation to our own grammar to develop the next canned food? Does that really work, the canned food? But tent in relation to developing anaconda for sleeping bags and string tents. in the countryside, further away, sitting in the forest, having billabong, knowing how to cook the canned food is just like the hollow, no, hobbit of Lord of the Rings, because catch a rabbit, peel it, skin it, then eat it. But Smeagol, based upon your own ring that you preciously want, does it know that it will destroy your human system or changes into your human body? So why so? But wizard, in the so why so, how do we confront the agony of knowing that the toxosome is a magic sperm to influence the DNA? But in that way, why are we gay? Do you know? I don't know. I'm born with gay. Do they born you gay? Probably. Most likely. Definitely not. It's just a segment of DNA in relation to being gay. And in that way, and in relation to being gay, how does the FBI can arrange a flock of sheep to know which one is gay? But it's not possible because it's a sheep. But and since it's a sheep, how does it flock into, hook you back in relation to understanding the flock of Ten Commandments? Do they meet each other, Joseph and Moses? I don't know when. But in that way, when they come some, the flocks of sheep, understanding welding melee is shaving the sheep to save the skin. But in that way, shaving the sheep to shave the skin and monotony of its own skin, will it bleed in the sheep? Most likely. But then how come the Aussie can shave the sheep to wool 100% pure, but welder in relation to sheeps, they're just lamb Sam, ban man. So in that way, if the sheep is female, then what kind of wool lasts longer? Because wool is just wool, but how long will it last when we can dye it in relation to the physique of sheeps? But Jesus' library, the cow of the leather, when did that start? Viking, back in the old destiny of empire. The conflict of our soul is a tracer in relation to our Sith Lord, because in relation to our Sith Lord, the empire cannot douchen the manufacturing degree of wool, but synthetically, sort of, the skin shava into the blessed of blood. So the blessed of blood is knowing that how our detour works with the sheep DN5 and depilate into cool, because the season per season weather station to know that our robot will perform the next work in relation to knowing that the sheepskin is not ito in relation to horseshoes. So, what kind of tamblang will be guarded in relation to the ruler of Illustrator to understand the mesh? But the sheep is just a sheep. The skin is just the skin. But in that way, Brendan, in Illustrator mesh, how do you retrace a picture of the real sheep to become cosmeton? Is it comic or cartoon? So in that way, when you mesh the gradient in relation to understanding the PMS and the color swap, each swap is to Tatlagatan, the lotus leaf. I've done that. But in that way, the more color you store into your pointer anger, then it will flush out the corrector of sheep's color. So minimalizing the 3D mesh in relation to Illustrator, the simple task is that do basic stuff in relation to school training or whatever you call it before you become an Illustrator artist in relation to Victor. So in relation to Victor, the cartoon character is just a cartoon character which is 2-dimension. But in 3-dimension is 3D SF. So in relation to autopsy, our own picture is our own picture. But how do we cycle through the mesh to become realistic? So in that way, when will we remesh the anchor points to delete some more points in relation to not knowing how to do it in Illustrator? So teacher at RMIT, I remember you started to teach me logo design. You sat there and you made a beautiful logo. I don't know how you do that, but I did it with CE, which is Creative Evolution for Ethan. So in that way, it's just like that. So in that way, when we have anchor points in relation to Illustrator, the mouse will trade the spotlight in relation to spot of color by eyedropper. But realistically, our TV screen is a different color. Our LCF screen is a different color. Our in-screen is a different color, but the plasma to sightseeing the color dropper. So in that way, laser from the temple. When we look at the colors, we know that the colors is just a simulon of emboss in relation to surfaces. Because when we color colorize the understanding of hero, the Chinese movie, how do we lamba the flock of sheep in relation to understanding color? I don't know much about color, but I love art. But anyway, in that way, even the highest artists can comnom the sheep to vector graphics, the enfant of mesh in relation to development by the computer system. But hey, the highest artist, you've been there, you've done that, you can paint like realistic, but other people like using computers. It's kind of like paint droppers. So in relation to your art being a painter, it's called paint droppers. So in relation to paint droppers, how can you graphically see mathematics, the color by Leonardo to smell the Mona Lisa by oil. What is the difference between watercolor, oil color, and solid paint in relation to your art? So, Picasso, in relation to your art, the transgender is based upon the mesh as well as exciton. But from our computer system, when it's done, we print out our work. Does it look like the one on the screen that we put our work in for? But then in Illustrator is CMYK swatch and PMS swarm and PDF elastic and RT3 Peterson of oil. So in relation to our swatches, the RGB is normal computer screen, no, normal. The PMS is ablacacan of elastic, and the tone of C R Y K M is printing DPI. So when we select a color in relation to producing our business card and our brochure pamphlet through our office work printer, has it been digitally imaged in the toner? Because it looks different, doesn't it? Ask my master. So each screen looks different in relation to my old photographer. Oh, yes. So in that way, each photography is the testament of similar, because when we use a camera to take a picture, it stores through the memory, and when it stores through the memory, when we print a copy, what kind of color will look real or unreal or opposite of realistic by Picasso? Because Picasso, in relation to your art, the decimal of tones is just a valid ruler in Illustrator to grid the signal of eyedropper and paint dots of dropper. So in that way, if we can 3D vision the lattice of cars or lamps or desks or shoes or clothes, how do we restructure the fabric in relation to what the AutoCAD does? So my computer is not on and I can't use Windows, sorry, but I'm using the new one, 3D thingamajig, don't remember. It's a new, anyway. Oh, the one on Facebook by Galicia. So in that way, oh, right. So in that way, if we press print on the keyboard and it prints out onto a normal printer, what kind of color comes out? Do you have any water solution of normal printer ink or solid water solution of printing machine in relation to MP5? Didn't I start something with Andrew Straw in relation to designing like just an A4, And where is that printing business? Are they still around? But I like the brand name. It's an old one, isn't it? You have old printers, but your old printers has sands. Good, isn't it? But when it has sand, how do we understand the color on the paper? Because Mother Tree, your foreskin It's just a nomenon. So, try a liquid Venetian, because based upon our food, can we color the water? So is that saffron? I can't pronounce it. It's yellow, but it looks red or light red. See, our visual eye, since is red, we do not know. I thought it's going to be red meat, but it's not. It's just yellow and looks like curry, but it's not curry. It doesn't smell like curry. So then, when we cook curry powder, does it yellow the meat? What kind of color? So, SYT, what happened with that chicken bone? Does that mean that our dentist will DM3 the dysfunction of chicken bone to see that when we eat color food, it sterilize, I can't pronounce it, sterilize our bones when we dead? Oh. It may be decoy, but drone Yoda. Since it may be decoy drone Yoda, the PM5 and the P61 is just a passion of knowing how to produce the welder in relation to the spirit energy. Because in relation to the spirit energy, the welder can seal any missing metal of air flush by the spaceship and cars. But in so, when it accidentally happened, we are welding into the in-shop to allocate the next color. But a brand new car is a brand new color. So since a brand new car is a brand new color, how do we divert into the same sink of welders? But Mum, isn't that rude, Asian? You know, charge me $400, no tax. But so in that way, does my skyline still have the beautiful color, shiny things? So in that way, small business owner, tax filing, do you know that you don't have to pay tax? Or do you need to pay tax? Don't know. In relation to, I didn't pay tax whilst I ran my business. But Brendan, your dad want to charge me $2,000 to $4,000 to be an accountant to help me to pay tax. Then I said no. But anyway, in relation to a small business, is there any kind of cheap stuff that Alan Loy likes a lot to be tax-free? Ah, John Howard, tax-free. Ah, so in relation to the old shops that we used to have, duty-free, has it any survivor to last a little bit longer for cheap shop? But hey, you can't cheat on them. Only when you are appointed in relation to tax-free. That's a different word from tax. So in that way, the argument of there is that the inside of CTAT will be remeasured by which one? Don't know. It's just in so when we develop the Apache in relation to SOMOS, read-write rules, then the Apache will see mathematics, the next central unit in America. Which one is the biggest country in the world? Don't know. So when we build the antenna, I already saw the picture on Instagram, yes. So when we build the antenna, how will we translate the codex of per image? So Brendan, didn't you show me vector graphics when we were working together? You did, didn't you? I didn't have enough time because I was coding CSS. So in the cartoon by Illustrator and the normality of vector artists using pencils or watercolor paints, Pikachu will review. No, Pikachu will look through to see the window line of 3D mesh to see how unreal it is by codex. So in that way, Pikachu, in relation to Rafale, the turtle of turnip is so unrealistic, but if it looks real, do we accidentally eat it by fake vegetable? So in that way, when it looks so real, if we trick someone and they buy one and they cook one and cut one, what happens? They get shocked. They think it's so real. But hey, in that level of imaging, how do we develop the next artistic regal in relation to different? Because vertically, our art is a different manner of understanding real videotape. So, TIC in relation to your commercial, producing realistic accident. Does people know that to drive safely, or is just a horror clip? So in so, don't we have some on Facebook? Ah, so in so, the understanding of the reverse mirror is that it happened in Sydney, but it costs a lot of money to make those. But camera bomb. What fog tape can view the distance per traveler to stay away instead of extend the speed to not that. But if we can balance well or bar well, it doesn't matter. But if it does, then accidentally, what happens? Whose fault? Don't know. Me or I? Me or I? So in relation to me or I, imandang, point of view, no, kalang, fog. So in this way, flock, the sheep walking through, chicken run. So, REV, camera, sheep running through, injoined, too late, accident. So in that way, flock of a sheep press through next lane. How does the cutter will be blamed for? Because it's already been damaged. So since it's already been damaged, who do we know that it's accidentally caused by windmill or a sheep. So stocking the cipher in relation to 0, the performance of your work is really good, but in so I like, but in me I don't, because accidentally we are just hesitant